This video lecture will deal with pathos or emotional appeals, also known as pathetic appeals. Now that word pathetic, we use it as a negative or derogatory in language today. The connotation is, ugh, that's pathetic, that's lame, that's horrible or terrible. But when I use the word pathetic, I want you to know that I'm talking an emotional appeal. If I say, that's a pathetic appeal, I'm saying, yes, it's reaching some kind of emotion. It's not a negative word when we use it in this sense. Now, also, pathetic often carries this idea of pity. If we say that's a pathetic person, if we're saying it in a kindly way, we might mean that we pity this person. Poor person, I feel for them. But pathetic appeal doesn't just mean that it's using the emotion pity. A pathetic appeal could be using the emotion of joy, for instance. So we could have a joyful pathetic appeal. So I just want you to understand how I'm using the word, and that if I say that's so pathetic, in this instance, it's a good thing. First of all, we have to talk about pathos and the ethical nature of pathos. And it's not unusual for speakers to be concerned about this idea of whether or not pathos is unethical because we're manipulating our audience with emotions, that we are not appealing to their logic or their reason. And so it's a valid question, should we manipulate our audience with emotions? And which brings us to the greater question, are emotional appeals manipulative? My position is that they are not. When we are using emotional appeals, our audiences are fully aware of what's happening. If we're making them sad, they know that we're giving information, material, something that is making them sad. They choose whether or not to be swayed by this, that it is not something we're doing outside of their control. This is not coercion, brainwashing, or torture. If we are using emotion artfully, your audience decides, yes, I accept this, or no, I don't. Probably the one that is, if we want to talk manipulative, guilt is going to be the one that will be probably the easiest manipulative, and then I think borders on unethical in some cases. Sometimes audiences do need to be guilty that they're doing the wrong thing, because perhaps the people are doing the wrong thing, and guilt's appropriate. When it's inappropriate is when we're making people feel guilt for things that they should not feel guilty about, and we're doing it in order to change their behavior. So I find that could be unethical. Not that guilt is unethical, but when we're trying to impart this idea of guilt when it's misplaced. You have been exposed to many TV commercials, I'm sure, over the years. TV commercials make ample use of emotions, that they only have 30 seconds, 60 seconds to sell something, and so feelings are much easier to sell than ideas or ethics in such a short amount of time. So we will see emotions that are being used to try to get us to buy something. There's an ad out there that I've seen recently that I think does a nice job of using these emotions, and I wanted to show it to you and then kind of talk about how it uses pathos.
AM radio, you're on my dial singing. Golden plains, my songs to sing. Forest green, a winding coast. The white lines keep time for you. Like road signs, my words are true. They bring me slowly back.
I missed you.
Did you bring new ones?
You work hard for more than just you.
You went to Montana.
I did. I went to Montana.
Working together, we'll help you save for her future geology degree. Wells Fargo. Together we'll go far.
So what is it about this commercial that makes it work so well? Why have I brought this as an example of a strong emotional appeal? And I tell you, before I saw this commercial, I don't think I would have imagined that Wells Fargo could put out an advertisement that I would find sympathetic towards them. Well, what do I mean? Well, they've been in the news recently for some very deceptive and unethical alleged business practices. And these are fairly significant and major. With this idea, I have a very low opinion of Wells Fargo credibility. So from that ethos standpoint, they're really low. And how could they start making me think differently of them in 60 seconds? And that commercial actually has a cut of a 30-second one as well. But they do, and I find that amazing. And so from this persuasion standpoint, I want to look at it and see what did they do in a minute or less that helps me overcome these ethos problems that I know logically I don't think I like this company, but yet this ad makes me reconsider. All right, there's a number of things happening in here. They're playing on the family set of emotions that we have, especially people who are parents, that our children are the most important thing to us, that we love our children when we're not with them, we're thinking about them. Being a parent is not about providing a lot of toys for them, but it's about being an important person in their life and helping them to grow up to be good, strong people. And I see that in here. We have a father who can't be there a lot because he's a trucker, yet he is always thinking about his little girl. He is going from state to state and picking out these rocks, which is evidently something that she loves. He knows who his daughter is, and he's thinking about her individually and acting for her even when they're apart. And the love that he has for her is convincing in this little vignette, and her love for him is so apparent when he comes home. She's happy to see him. And as a parent, that's what you want. You want your kids to be thrilled to see you once you've been gone. And what he brings back for her is not expensive. He's not bringing her a Nintendo DS, 3D, Game Boy. He's not bringing her jewelry. He's bringing her rocks that he's picked up by the side of the road. And it's perfect. It's exactly what she wants. And we see this father making such good choices that are so effective for his daughter in the ad. And so this becomes a metaphor. Wells Fargo is like this father making these good choices for their children who are their clients. And there's something about it that really works well. These emotions touch into very deep-seated emotions. Am I going to go and buy any Wells Fargo products? No, absolutely not. But this commercial has made me not be as angry to them as I could be. And that's what a good pathos argument can do. A strong, pathetic appeal will make you feel differently, think differently, and maybe in the future they might convince me. Not right now, but they certainly made a first step, which is extremely important. All right, how do we make emotional appeals? And I think you'll find that this video section isn't going to be incredibly long because it's something that can't be talked about in many ways. It has to be experienced. But your choice of supporting material is very important. If you're going to give an example, choose an example that has some type of pathetic quality to it, and then you can have inductive argument that has pathos at the same time. So you think if you have an example and you're looking in research, let's pick the example that perhaps is something that's going to make us have more emotions to it. So if I'm going to be talking about donating blood and giving an example of somebody who had a blood transfusion and it saved their life, I'm probably going to choose that person that we're all going to feel the most sympathy for. I might choose an 8-year-old girl who has a beautiful picture, an engaging smile, and was in a car accident caused by a drunk driver, and the blood transfusion saved her life. I'm probably not going to choose the example of the person who had a drug overdose and was dying and needed a rare type of blood, which happened to be there, and now this addict's life is saved. That's probably not going to have the same power to it. Your tone of voice is going to be incredibly important when you're giving a pathetic example. If you're talking pathos, you need to have your emotional voice available here. If I am giving a happy example, I need to sound happy. I need to sound excited about all of this. It's wonderful. And if I'm giving a sad example, then I need to sound very sad. Maybe I'm even on the verge of tears. It's so sad. And if I'm angry, then I need to sound angry. Get some staccato in your voice. Be mad. Okay, I'm overdoing it, obviously, with those examples. And audiences really want this emotion to be genuine and authentic. They don't want it to be fake and manufactured. So if you're doing that whole crying thing and you're pretending and making it up, it's probably not going to be very effective, frankly. You need to actually be engaged in this emotion. With speakers, often if you feel the emotion and you're conveying that to us, we will feel that emotion with you, and that's incredibly persuasive. So this is exactly what I was just saying a moment ago. One of the strongest pathos speeches I had was many, many years ago when I was a grad student at UC Davis, and I was teaching a public speaking class, and I had a young woman who gave her speech about how she came to the United States, and she had been forced out of her home country, and what was called a boat person at the time. She had to flee because of political pressures, in which her family got on a boat and just sailed in order to reach a safer country to be in, and was taken in by the United States originally. And what she talked about is her experiences on this boat. It wasn't just her and her family on a little rowboat. It was maybe 100 people on a boat, and they just set sail and were going anywhere. Anywhere was safer than home. And she talked about pirates. And at this point, I didn't know that pirates were something that really existed outside of Disney movies about Peter Pan or Tales of Blackbeard. I didn't know there was such a thing in real life today, but there were these people who travel on boats, and they steal, they kill, they assault innocents on other boats. And so she talked about the pirates who came onto her boat, and people who died, and how her family made it, and how much she loved the United States. And I tell you, I might not be the most patriotic of people by my own inclination, but at the end of her speech, I was ready to stand up and start singing the national anthem and to proclaim extreme love for the United States because of her experiences, what she went through, and kind of the horror of it that she expressed with her voice. And then the change in her voice as she talks to coming to the United States, and the opportunities that she had that she loved and was so grateful for. And it sold me very quickly on her point. Showing your emotion, actually letting your emotion show while you're giving your speech. If you have a sad example and you're sounding sad, your face needs to have that proper emotion as well. Everything just needs to match here for it to work well. Language is a third way that we try to get this pathos across. So we want to choose words that evoke emotions. Colorful language, think about the rhythm of the language, imagery, in the same sense that certain language choices can help us feel, to have to make this appeal pathetic. We can also make sure that we're not using language choices that will cut our pathos. For instance, if I'm giving a speech trying to convince people to donate their organs, that once you're legally dead, you're brain dead, but your organs are still functioning and they could be donated for organ transplants. Let's say I'm trying to convince you of this. I'm probably going to avoid some of the medical terms that are used. I'm not going to talk about harvesting organs because this word harvest is really kind of appalling from a pathos sense. I feel like suddenly I'm being reduced to a crop. I'm like corn or beans, and it makes me mad and upset and not want to do this. So this is where we go in the hospital now. They're much often talking about give the gift of life. Much more persuasive because it's beautiful gift, life. Harvesting, not so much. So we have to think about what language choices we're using and how this can better get across a pathetic appeal. All right, that's it. In many ways, you have to practice with this pathos. Talk to people as before you get your speech finalized. Say, how does this example make you feel? If I said this, what do you think? Is this word choice effective? And you have to play around with it just a little bit.